I must start by congratulating all of you for what I perceive to be very good and effective coverage. You have done very well. We appreciate it. We have seen you cover most of our meetings, at least those who have been with us on the campaign trail. We appreciate you and want to thank you. But more importantly, we want to congratulate the people of Zimbabwe for peace. Zimbabweans have tried and they continue to try, as they have always been peaceful people and a loving people. We want to appreciate that. I've gone across the length of this country. It's clear that people are determined. People are waiting for change. The end is nigh. I can tell you that the writing is on the wall for my colleague who is currently occupying the office. There's no doubt that we are winning this election. In fact, we have won this election. The mood in the country is massive. The momentum is unstoppable, and people are connecting to our messaging. People are connecting to our narrative in governance. I have seen that even people like the Vice President of ZANU-PF, General Chwenga, retired, is now even joined on realizing that it's possible to deliver spaghetti rolls. Initially he was saying that it's not possible, but I see that now is one of my spokespersons in the message and one of the key believers. I like it when your opponent becomes your disciple. So I want to also congratulate General Chwenga for not being resistant to the message which is compelling, the overwhelming message we have sent across. Ladies and gentlemen, let me turn to the issue of elections and where we are, particularly in the context of what we have received, the statements and circumstances from the corridors of ZEC. I've read, I've listened to what was said by my learned judge, Chigumba, on where we are in terms of the development within ZEC. I respectfully disagree with some of the things that she's saying. She's obviously not correct on points of law. She's obviously not correct on points of the administrative requirements that are imposed on the Zimbabwe Electoral Commission. In fact, I must hasten to say to all the commissioners, and in particular to the chairperson of the commission, Justice Chigumba, remember to respect your oath to the people of Zimbabwe, your oath to the country of Zimbabwe, and your oath, more importantly, to the law. Because she took an oath, and the meaning of an oath is that she's supposed to respect that oath to the letter and spirit. And of course, she knows what I mean by saying, honor your oath, respect your oath. We have disagreed with ZEC on a number of issues. As you are aware, we had a press conference and highlighted the issues that we are not in agreement with, particularly issues around the ballot paper and the issue of the voter score. Now, what has become so clear and so apparent is the fact that by ZEC's own admissions, they have said that the ZEC server was cloned. They don't know who cloned it. But what is clear is that they've admitted, from what Chigumba said, from her own mouth, in her own words, the ZEC server was cloned. And that's the explanation for the numbers that have been dished out and for the numbers that have been sent out. But what is clear is that if the ZEC website or server has been cloned, all the other political parties are complaining except ZANU-PF. Yet ZANU-PF again is the culprit that has been found with those numbers being sent to individuals coming from ZEC. There is a clear violation and breach by ZANU-PF, by ZEC, in terms of confidentiality and privacy of voter information. We can no longer, therefore, under those circumstances, trust ZEC that there's not going to be any further cloning or any further interference with the server of ZEC. And that is a problem. And we want it to be taken seriously. It actually states the reason why we have said that we are losing confidence in ZEC in its capacity to be an honest umpire and an objective, independent referee. Number two, again by ZEC chairperson's admission, she has admitted that they did not feel that the postal ballot was done in a manner that does not go beyond what is expected in terms of the law. In fact, she admitted that there is evidence of electoral malpractice, especially if one has regard to the fact that our officers were asked to vote in the presence of their seniors. That vote was not secret. We have this information. Officers are phoning us. They are complaining. We have raised these issues, and this has continued. So we would want this ballot to be made invalid, nullified, so that it is done according to the law, in full secrecy, respecting our police officers, and also not forcing police officers to be on a postal ballot when they have not applied for it. We know that they are doing it, and we want this to be sorted out. So it's clear that the postal ballot was not done according to the law, and is therefore compromised and has to be invalidated. You know, we are taking steps in terms of the law. We are also taking steps in terms of our administrative arrangements to make sure that this issue is dealt with. The third issue is the issue on the ballot printing. It is very clear that the ballot printing was not done in accordance with the law. In terms of the law, the Electoral Act, Section 57, it's very clear that it has to be done, particularly the layout of the ballot paper itself has to be done according to the alphabetical order. And if you have regard to what is called the V10, it's clear that that was not followed. I don't know what Commissioner Chikumba's defense is in a clear and flagrant violation of that provision of law, where Mr. Mnangagwa is now finding himself being the first on the alphabet by virtue of what they are calling another call-up, when in fact it's supposed to be done in an alphabetical order, and Mr. Mnangagwa is supposed to be another number, which is not where he is right now. So rigging of the ballot is not just a political problem, it's also a legal problem, which we obviously are also going to take up and complain about. We've also discovered that there has been massive intimidation in the countryside, you know, especially in the context of ZANU-PF panicking. It's clear that we have the majority of support in the rural areas. We have done a fantastic job in Matebeleland, in Mashonaland, in Maswingo, in Manikaland. I can assure you that the support we now have in those areas is massive. This is why, a case in point, just last night, you know, people in Buhera under ZANU-PF MP Chikomba, the people were being told that if you vote for MDC, you are going to see what happened in 2008. And we are getting these, you know, manifest and ubiquitous, ever-present circumstances of intimidation across the whole country. And we're extremely worried, particularly in the Gokwe areas, where people are being congregated, frog-marched into meetings, almost having meetings, Pungwe meetings, and we have evidence. We are compiling that evidence. We're going to give it to our observers, but we're also going to take up the matter with ZEC. We're also going to take up the matter with ZANU-PF. This information is clearly indicating the violation of the Electoral Act Section 133, which speaks to issues of intimidation. It's very clear that they are intimidating supporters and villagers. We also note circumstances of vote buying, especially the distribution of maize seed and fertilizer in June, which is so unprecedented in July. Why? Because ZANU-PF has now resorted to very desperate measures to try and prop up their fortunes, which are not redeemable, even if they continue and try to do that. Section 136 of the Electoral Act is very clear on circumstances of what is defined as bribery. It is bribery to try and give somebody something, hoping that they would then be confused in terms of their voting. In fact, if I may just read, you know, bribery speaks to doing anything, directly or indirectly, that gives, lends, procures, or offers a promise to procure or endeavor to procure any man for any person on behalf of a voter, like what we are seeing. Yes, it's good to distribute farm inputs, but let us do them outside the realm of elections. We have 2 weeks before an election, and we have ZANU-PF beginning to do what they are doing. It's an extreme issue that we would want to be dealt with. Now, what is the way forward under these circumstances? I've already told the nation that we are taking seriously issues that we have not agreed upon with ZEC. We had raised 10 issues, which were our demands for a free and fair election. We scaled down to say we now have 2 minimum flashpoints or red lines, which is the issue of the ballot paper and the issue of the voter straw. These are so crucial, these are so important that we can't even negotiate anything. Yes, Chigumba was saying, as far as they are concerned, it's water under the bridge. Now, there's neither water nor any bridge, as far as we are concerned. She is mistaken if she thinks that this issue is going to be a sleeping dog. In fact, these dogs are going to bark. Not only bark, they are going to bite very soon. Because we want a free and fair election, we will not take anything lying. We will not accept a ballot paper that is not to our satisfaction. If we are to agree to having an election, we must have it under circumstances where the ballot paper is agreed upon, printed according to the law. Now, she has continued this very banal and nebulous foggy line that candidates is not covered by the law and stuff like that. You go to the Constitution of Zimbabwe, Section 155, subsection 2C. It's very clear to say, it shall be the role of the state and the Zimbabwe Electoral Commission to take all appropriate measures, including legislative measures, and to ensure that certain of the principles set out in subsection 1 are actually adhered to. Now, those speak to issues of security, verifiability, accuracy, simplicity, and accountability and transparency of the voter information and voter straw. Now, C, it must be the role of ZEC to ensure that all political parties and candidates, and I'm a candidate, a presidential candidate, one of the 23, contesting in an election or participating in a referendum, have reasonable access, reasonable, underline the word reasonable, access to all material, and I'm sure ballot papers are material. Sensitive materials like ink are all part of the material, and information necessary for them to participate effectively. Now, if I don't have access to processes on the ballot paper printing, I have been denied my constitutional right. And I'm saying that on the basis of this, it must actually be availed to me when I say I want to see the ballot paper, when I say I want to have access to where the ballot paper is. Its security, its storage, its distribution, they are all issues that are covered in terms of the law, and that must be respected. So, yes, we have hit a stalemate. I've already sent a signal to SADC, I've sent a signal to the AU. I'm now taking 3 steps that are supposed to resolve these issues. The first one, in the interest of dialogue, I've sent and dispatched a team to request an extraordinary meeting, which I have always requested and it has not been acceded to, with the ZEC chairperson as a candidate, on behalf of the alliance, on behalf of the candidates who have also registered as parliamentary candidates, 210, as council candidates, over 1,900. Those I represent in terms of requiring certain information on the voting process. So yes, this has been done. If then Chigumba fails to accept for us to meet, we are requesting an urgent meeting with all the commissioners so that we articulate our issues and we also agree on a way forward. If this fails, we are also pushing for all the parties, and we've already requested to have a meeting of all parties, all candidates that are willing to be part of this journey, to also come together in terms of dealing with the issues that are supposed to be dealt with in the context of the multi-party liaison platform in terms of section 160, I think it's 160D of the Electoral Act. We are also escalating this matter to SADC. In fact, we are writing to SADC to request an extraordinary summit of SADC to then deal with this stalemate and this dispute. Because for as far as we are concerned, this is a dispute. We have a dispute, we have a stalemate, we have a crisis. We cannot possibly have an election if we do not know where the ballot paper is, who has printed the ballot paper, the quality of the ballot paper. In fact, as I have already indicated in other spheres and spaces, I have no evidence that the ballot paper was printed in Zimbabwe. I wish I had any, but I have no evidence that the ballot paper was actually printed in Zimbabwe. We are ready for a big mentor. We are ready for victory. There is no way it is going to defeat us in this election. There is no way ZANU-PF is going to win this election. In fact, it's no longer about parties anymore in the countryside. People are clear that this is no longer about MDC or ZANU-PF. It's now about Zimbabwe. And when we vote for Zimbabwe, we vote for a fresh start, we vote for new policies, we vote for a new face. And I'm sure I represent that new face in adequacy and in a convincing dose.